This week marks 1 year since the mid-air collision between an American Airlines flight from Wichita and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter.
67 people were killed when the aircrafts collided over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. This week, 12 News will be in D.C. as the National Transportation Safety Board will be determining the probable cause of that crash. Ahead of the meeting, investigator Dylan Domingue takes a look back at the events of that day.
Wednesday, January 29th, was supposed to be an ordinary day for travelers at Eisenhower Airport. 64 passengers and crew members boarded American Airlines Flight 5342, a scheduled flight from Wichita to Washington, D.C. Among those on board were educators, advocates, parents. Nearly half the plane consisted of those from the figure skating community who were in town for the U.S. Championships. The destination was D.C. Reagan National Airport was in sight. The plane just seconds away from landing.
Pat 25, this is CRJ in sight. Pat 25, pass bond is CRJ.
But a military helicopter on a training mission flew in the direct path of the descending plane.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3.
A mid-air collision.
I was reporting a CRJ and a helicopter crash into the Potomac River.
Despite efforts from air traffic control to separate the two aircraft, both plummeted into the frigid Potomac River.
Mass casualty alarm. Runway 33 DCA.
We're on the scene right now.
The sound of first responders echoing off the river, searching for any signs of survivors.
We have been told that there are no survivors.
We will not rest until we have answers.
67 people were killed.
There's just a hole in our family that will never be filled.
In the months that have followed, investigators have worked countless hours to answer the question, how did this happen?
It doesn't surprise me at all that virtually everybody in accident investigation at the NTSB has touched this accident.
The National Transportation Safety Board found the helicopter was flying above the maximum altitude designated for Route 4 over the river and was not using technology that would have transmitted the aircraft's location.
Should the local controller have let the PSA crew know that there was a helicopter there?
Yes.
However, the NTSB found alarming stats that show near misses were regular occurrences between planes and helicopters. Since 2021 in that airspace, there have been 85 close calls.
Everybody in FAA in the tower was saying there was a problem, but you guys are pointing out, welp, our bureaucratic process, somebody should have brought it up at some other symposium. Are you kidding me? 67 people are dead. How do you explain that?
But no voice has been louder than the families of those killed in the crash, advocating for permanent safety measures, calling on Congress to require tighter restrictions around military flights and for location technology to be installed and turned on.
We expect better, and people deserve better. Safety must come first. We ask for thoughtful, evidence-based improvements that honor the memory of those we lost and protect every family that flies.
And some of those families will be traveling to Washington, D.C. for a memorial service on Wednesday to honor their loved ones and recognize the first responders. This week, we also expect the NTSB to release the first significant update in their investigation in 6 months as investigators will determine the probable cause of that crash. Our 12 News team will have full coverage all week from the nation's capital as we remember the lives lost and tell impactful stories of Flight 5342 1 year later.